It's March 2nd, 2022. Actually, I made a video earlier about my son home from school. When I watched it back, I realized the calendar slipped my mind because I'm not a calendar person really. It's actually March 2nd. It's not March 3rd. I made a faux pas. But there's no way to go back and make it again. So it was in the moment without pilot. Alright, so now, for me, there's a conversation going on. This morning I had made mention of the senator, I think his name is Thune. It's close, when I try to pronounce it, it's close to Thor, for Norse gods, being that my feet are in North America where his are. He's by the monument of Monumental Men. I don't know if he knows what New York is going through at the moment as a statesman, senator, that I recognize in the correct state, might I add. So if I do like a, I don't know, Joe Montana move where I need you to know something that's going on, there's in New Jersey, they have it on news. I asked this morning, posing it to the senator on social media, because he was sitting with Gayle King, who is a false king. That's a stage name. That's sacrilege. Should not be used. It gives false bias. It gives her false authority. It's a problem. And we're in North America. We are not in any of the other parts of America. So, not in Central, not in South. We're not in Latin America. So now, that person that he was speaking to, a potential domestic terrorist rep, again, if knowledge is power and knowledge is currency, it makes it really difficult for them to be so embedded in North American culture, with access to phones and travel and international funding and so on and so forth. This is a growing problem. That's just one example. This is a second example. There is a North American police officer, also a familial member to some genealogy that's closer to myself and senator from South Dakota. And he made an action call on the line of duty between a fight that broke out, and then the voices that are now on the media, which is like the loudest megaphone, MEGA. It's not just a microphone, it's a megaphone, which scares the bejesus out of leadership and management and tends to mislead the conversation in home territory, defending domestic against foreign invasion, foreign threats, foreign narrative. But this is what now is erupting. They are now in a large group being as aggressive as ever with their passive attorney in the front line, and they're trying to harm the law enforcement agent who was just doing his job because he was there, which then makes other law enforcement personnel afraid to do their jobs in the field for many reasons. And it's this disgusting dance, but it is domestic terrorism. There are people here that want to stay, but they don't want to be civilly obedient and civilly whatever. They want to be aggressive and try to control the narrative, but not just in a short period of very direct, like, questioning some of the haves in the you have a position of authority. I have not gotten there, but I have concerns which you have not addressed, or at least addressed them in a manner that makes managing North America look like you've got it under control, not just the senator from South Dakota, but his party members and the working class democracy. And it worked at one point. We need to get that class of working democracy back and hold off the domestic terrorists with their thoughts and feelings on what a democracy looks like. Because at aristocrat and at bureaucrat, there's a lot of feudalism going on, and it's disruptive to some of the people who have now been forgotten about, on top of having not, and are now frightened by this outpouring of support for the domestic terrorists and their funding, and the forgotten about children that need to eat and be able to afford having a life and a family and a house as well. It seems the priorities have gotten contorted somehow.
The office said there was nothing new to release. The matter remains an internal affairs investigation. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is representing Hussein and his family.
The police, in a split second, saw a white kid on top of a black kid.
Now, this is the narrative that the domestic terrorist who calls himself an attorney or a lawyer for some civil rights action while he's inside North America is perpetuating for quite some time now in this. They used to call them activists. But watch what erupts as they all gather in a communal, communist way where they're no longer looking to the untrained eye like civilly obedient, like, citizens. They look more like really aggressive swarm and like guerrilla like tactics, if we're talking like retired somebody specials or active duty somebody specials that I don't have access to, and I'm deathly afraid of, because they get stuff done and I just don't want to get in their way.
Altercation and made a determination that the white kid was presumed innocent and the black kid was presumed guilty.
That should be a domestic terrorist script that is not tolerated anywhere in any of the lower 48 states within the United States, period. That's my suggestion, because it's getting really scary with the turnout and what's taking place and what's being almost snuffed out, if in a really, like, my part's been like snuffed out and suffocated out of existence until I started making a YouTube video to document my story, because I have no other microphone in order to document it, and it is kind of important. I also have another tale in the nuclear family that I was supposed to enjoy in marriage, but that got derailed by some other function. I don't know which. But I don't understand how all of this is tolerated. Now, this is the next set of conversations.
The family and their legal team are pushing for more police bias training.
The Attorney General in the state has...
The Attorney General. Now, is that the Letitia James who also is biased towards this family member and is really discriminatory, it feels, against my plight and my existence here in North America? I mean, I know in nuclear family, they stand by rock, paper, scissors. Where I'm confused is where the civilians stand in this allowance for so long of this domestic terrorist narrative and supportive narrative for domestic terrorism to take place. That's what's really confusing.
Has now dictated that all
Oh, now she's dictated. So now Letitia James, who was biased as this, and to let them get away with criminal acts, has now dictated to this gentleman.
members of the Attorney General staff, all of their detectives, have to go through implicit bias training, as well as all the state police. But locally, there's no such law.
People need to know that if they do.
Why does she have a microphone? Why is she on broadcast public television news on Channel 2 on March 2nd, 2022, while I have been dragged through this time frame I time traveled to this spot? Why is this in my porthole view of potential problems somewhere else in the world? Where is management and leadership? Here's another piece of domestic terrorism news. U.S. is now wanting to I'm in North America, so how is that going to work with the U.S. Supreme Court in North America? Or is NATO able to help get us into a separate, just North American thing? Yeah.
No glasses on the table, and dinner's ready.
All right, I'll be right there.
The Senate Judiciary Committee has scheduled 2 days for questioning and then another day for witness testimony.
Senator Schumer has said he wants the confirmation process finished by the beginning of April.
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott.
But I don't understand how they allow these like things to keep continuing and perpetuating and making it as if this is the new norm and the acceptable change. It is not. It then causes corporate espionage. It causes foreign terrorism. It funds foreign terrorism. It makes us a target. It makes the citizens a target. And it's this back and forth issue that's really frightening. It's star 1978, star 8378. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And at the same time that I'm reporting this, with this as what they're broadcasting, and I don't know who's sending the consensus or who's sending this state and FCC run garbage, but the moon is missing. Today I have to check later when it becomes dark, but for 5 days the moon has gone missing. So we are somehow in a different part of the galaxy, which is what I've been saying, which is the sun, the Earth, the solar system, the Milky Way, the universe, galaxy is broken for space address.